My speakers today are sitting right next to me, and it's Sharon Lukic and Jeannie Whitehouse. And I just lost a page of my book here. And here we go. We're going to be speaking about hiring the right people in your firm. And I think what I'll do is have each of them introduce themselves to you briefly, and then we'll start our session.
Thank you for having us, Gail.
You're welcome.
Most definitely. My name is Sharon Lukic. I'm a CPA and a partner with Thomas Edwards Group. We're a local boutique accounting and finance executive placement firm here in Dallas.
I'm sorry, I mispronounced your name.
That's okay. It's all right.
I'm Jeannie Whitehouse. I'm a CPA, and I work part of the time with a CPA firm in the Napa Valley in California. I am the Countess of Communication there, which is a title that nobody understands or knows what it's about, but it's basically about not doing any traditional tax or audit or financial statement work. I get to talk a lot, which is kind of my specialty. I also am a co-founder of a remote bookkeeping business for wineries, again in the Napa Valley, and I speak and write on topics related to all sorts of nerdy stuff, from how to communicate better to making sense of financial metrics and information. So thank you. And I have to say, one of the best hires anybody has ever done is Gail Perry, because she can do anything and all day long. And you're an amazing, an amazing role model for all of us.
All right, so we're going to talk for a while about bad hires. Well, and actually, we're going to talk about the hiring process and what that entails. And we saw a survey recently published by ADP that indicated that almost half of hiring managers underestimate the complexity of the hiring process, and 65% of their survey respondents said they had problems with the hiring process. So we're going to talk about what kind of problems can occur in the hiring process, and why those are problems, and how they can impact your business. And then we're also going to kind of turn that around and start talking about some of the good things that can happen in the hiring process, and how you can make sure that you're on the good side if you're in a hiring position. So, Sharon, I know you've written articles and taught on top hiring mistakes, so let's hear them. What are the things that people do wrong that they don't even realize?
Well, I think where it stems from is most of the time when you need to hire somebody, that hiring is immediate, unless it's an intern or something like that. When someone gives you their notice or walks out, or you escort them out the door, the time to hire is pretty immediate. And as a result, many times a good job description is not developed. And that's really a key. Really, really a key, that it has not only the educational requirements, but some measurable descriptions in the job description as well. Whether it's completing things in a timely basis, whether it's meeting certain goals that are given to you, make sure to put some measurables in those job descriptions, because at the end of the day, that's what you're going to use to measure whoever it is that you hire. And then if you eventually have to counsel and or terminate someone, it all comes back to the job description and making sure that they understand what they're hired for, how they're going to be measured, and then to hold them accountable for that. So many times these stem from the fact that that hire is immediate. Your clients aren't being serviced, the rest of your team is being stressed, and so it can be very stressful.
Snowball effect.
It can be very
So,
stressful.
Sharon, do you recommend that you hand that job description to the interviewee? Because we never do that. I mean, we build a job description just for posting the position on a site, and we never actually bring that in and give it to the candidate. Is that something you're recommending?
Well, when you give someone their review, right, on a quarterly review or after an engagement or whatever it is, how are you measuring them? Right? If you
kind of a basic thing, isn't it? Well, you'd think, but we're not doing it.
You would think, and so if you write a description that you can hand to them, then you can say, this is what I've hired you to do. This is how you will be measured. And we see a lot of success when the annual review or quarterly review, whatever it is that your firm practices, when it comes along, you can give the employee an evaluation of their own. How do
Yeah.
you think you did? And if there's nothing concrete and nothing measurable, there's no guideline, well, everybody's going to think they did a great job, right? So that it just gives you some specific areas to speak to. So I would say yes. I think in some of the larger firms, sometimes the HR professional is the one that's developing the job description. I know in big corporations, many times it's created by someone that really doesn't even know the job.
Well, when you're talking about small firms, and mine is 22 people, our firm in Napa, HR role is a luxury to have. I mean, to somebody who's full-time HR, what you have is usually somebody who's drawn the short straw, and now you're HR, and we're scrambling to get people in to do the work, and nobody's got the the time or focus to get HR handled properly, which is a big problem. But I know we do job descriptions, but we also think that if we are putting an ad out for an auditor, you kind of know what you're supposed to do. We don't have to go into as much detail, but I think you're right that that's not necessarily true. There may be some expectations that you should state clearly and make sure that you're paying attention to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you take your top performers, right? If you look at some of the top performers in your team and look at what it is that makes them a top performer, it probably isn't the fact that they have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or even a CPA, because you're probably going to be a firm full of those. So what is it? Is it the critical thinking? Is it the accuracy? Is it the timeliness? Is it the service that they provide to the customer? Is it going over and above? Is it the volume of returns or volume of consulting engagements that they're involved with? Something that's measurable.
So do you use tools? We use a tool called Trimetrics for our firm. It's from a company called TTI, and we use them primarily for our DISC behavioral assessment tools that we use with clients. And this is a tool that we actually, our managing partner is certified in this tool. He uses it with clients, so small businesses, winery clients in our case. He's consulting on their hiring practices. But we're also using it internally for our roles. And what Trimetrics does is help you bring the people who are in fact impacted by the job together to identify those critical skill sets. And so you lay those out as a group, you agree on those skill sets, and then somehow magically it asks a bunch of questions that you then associate with those skills, and it gives you these scores. So we actually have a series of scores we can evaluate on suitability to the task that we've defined. But it all depends on whether we've defined it properly or not.
Which is why it really all starts with as best of a well-defined job description as you can come up with.
And that helps. I mean, having an assessment, we love having something we can put in a spreadsheet, right? We got color coding and it's rows and columns. Okay, now I can handle this person thing because they're in a spreadsheet. But we still have to take that data and then sort of compare that to what it's like when we actually sit down across from them.
Right.
But really thinking clearly about what it does take to be successful in a role is sometimes something we don't spend enough time on, I think.
And I think sometimes it isn't quite fair to people that come in if they really don't know what their expectation, the level of expectation is.
Right. And Jeannie, I think your point also about the smaller the firm, they may not have an HR person, they may not have any real rules in place. It's just like,
Seat of the
here are
pants.
5 of us, hey, we need to hire someone, let's call in some candidates, we'll all sit in the conference room together and talk, and not a formal process at all.
And then, of course, you end up hiring people just like you, right? We all hire the person like us, which may or may not be effective for whatever you're trying to do. And in most cases, we need somebody different so we can get a different perspective on whatever the work is.
Right.
So that may be on your list of the top 10 mistakes.
I was going to say that leads into...
I took your number 2.
You did. I don't know that I put them in any particular order, but I think a well-defined, at least job description, or at least understanding the expectations that you expect someone to live up to when they come into the firm, whether you're a 2-person firm or a 50-person firm. Once you do that, then having people that are involved in or invested in the hire is really key. I think what happens sometimes, we haven't talked about bad hires, but some people that make bad hires have a knee-jerk reaction, and so the next time they hire, they just beat the process to death. or they bring everybody in the entire firm in to be involved with it, and that.
So nobody gets the blame.
Right. That's exactly what happens, because a bad hire can really damage management's reputation, right, within the firm, and they don't have as much confidence in the people that they're bringing in. So many times, if they want to spread the blame, they'll overdo the process. And so one of the things I think is important is to have people that are vested in the hire involved in the process. If you're a 2 to 3 person firm, of course everybody wants to be involved, but if you're a 20, 25 person firm, I think you need to have the people that are involved with the hire that are going to be working with that person, because then they're invested in the hire, right? If you're sitting around and you're one of the 5 people that's involved in the hiring process, and you make a recommendation for this person to be hired, more than likely you're going to be invested in that person's success once they come to the firm. And so I think that's really important, really important.
Okay. What other things should a hiring person look out for as potential
Mistakes.
minefield?
I think another is lack of preparation. I think, I know many of the candidates that I help tell me that some of the clients will, number one, they're late in the interview, or they come in, do you have a copy of your resume? I haven't seen it yet.
Can't find it.
And then they ask that dreaded question, so tell me about yourself. Right, so they're not prepared for the interview, right?
Yeah, we don't train people.
We don't, but there are a host of interview questions that are available online, right? And so let's take our example of 5 people being involved in the hiring process. You can ask a variety of questions, behavioral interview questions, and maybe you take 3 or 4 of them and you assign those questions to the 5 people. So at least when someone sits down, they have direct pointed questions that's their responsibility to ask them. And especially if you have 3 or 4 people that are coming in and you're trying to make a decision, then you've asked every candidate the same question. And it's so much easier. I mean, we're accountants, right? We like things to be a little black and white and have a checklist. And it makes it easier to say candidate A, B, and C, well, boy, I like the way that this one answered this question. But if there's no structure to the process, then there's more than likely going to be a failure in that process somewhere.
So one of the things that you pointed out is that when we're in that process, we are not just buying from that candidate, we're also selling. We are selling our firm, and I think we forget about that. But not only are we evaluating them, but they are evaluating us. And so everything that we do in that relationship is going to matter to both parties. I mean, we're looking at them at the same time they're looking at us, and so we need to be able to put our best foot forward, and not showing up on time for a CPA is just hard to fathom how you could start off in that fashion. But I think we don't realize how much it's up to us to convince these folks that we're a good place for them to land also. And then to be able, this is the hard part to me, is once we deliver on the great story that we tell during the recruiting process, to be able to follow through on that once they actually sign the paper and join the firm, to continue that sort of, make the promise come to life.
Yeah. And I think that's easier in the bigger firms. You and I both worked for Deloitte, and the process was very structured.
They had a team of people.
Yeah, exactly. And you spent a whole day there, and you had places to go and people to see.
Yeah,
and
drink the Kool-Aid at every station.
Yeah. But the smaller the firm, you don't even have the ability to do something like that.
Yeah.
And but that doesn't mean you can't have some structure and.
Right.
But also, one of the things we struggle with, and here we are in Napa Valley, so you'd think everybody on the planet would be beating the doors down to come work in wine country, wouldn't you? They want to come, you figure we're sitting around drinking alcohol all day, it'd be a great place to work. But it's actually a farm community. So if you're a young person out of college, and we're an hour from San Francisco, You want to go to a big city and be in, the big cool firm, the high-tech company that has the pool table and the nice cafeteria. We got wine, but but they got all that stuff. But we're a small farming community, so if you're a young person, we're not the first place that you're going to want to go, no matter what we say as a firm. So getting people in is difficult. And so one of the things that happens is you're so desperate to get somebody in the seat that you just settle. And to me, it's a big risk that we have, especially in today's environment, about how few people are out there looking for jobs. What's the unemployment rate? It's down to 2 or 3%, isn't it?
Yeah,
In our profession.
Yeah. Oh, in our profession.
Yeah, so I mean, it's ridiculous to find people, and so we just sort of, everyone goes, yeah, they're not great, but I'm tired of this process, and you get this interview fatigue, and we just go, okay, let's just take them, and then immediately problems start appearing.
Right. Well, one of the things that some of my clients don't do is they don't have as much of an open mind. You said it earlier, where we want to hire people that look exactly like us.
Yeah.
And when you have more than 60% of partners and managers in CPA firms that are baby boomers or that are over the age of 50, so
You can say old. That's okay.
Well,
we won't cry. We won't cry. We know we're old.
But you want to hire someone that looks like you, that took a little bit more of a traditional path.
Yeah.
And today there are people that are taking time off to have babies.
Yeah.
They're taking time off to travel. They're taking time off to care for aging parents.
Yeah.
And so if you look at everyone that you hire through your lens, and you want to find somebody that's exactly like you, and if you can't fathom the reason that they might have moved from one job to another and you dismiss them, the pool of candidates that is available to you is very, very small. And I think that even some of the smaller firms, you're much better when you have a diverse group in age, in ethnicity. I think they were talking about that earlier.
Gender diversity, you want age diversity, you want race diversity, you want all the diversity you can, especially because the people that we're serving are diverse. They're not all old, they're not all young, they're not all coming from the same background.
That's what you want to serve is,
we want to be able to
65-year-old baby boomer men. And,
well,
then
there may be a niche somebody's built around that, but that's not going to serve you in most areas anymore. It's difficult.
What about testing? I mean, especially in the accounting profession, any kind of numerical profession. I mean, of course, if you've taken and passed the CPA exam, you've sort of been tested. But if you have specific requirements for someone in your firm, do you recommend potential employers do some kind of testing?
Absolutely. There's so many online testing apps and out there that all the way from just Excel testing, right? To whatever, perhaps you have a tax software that you use, or whether it's QuickBooks, whether, I mean, so accounting probably not, especially if they're a CPA, but then incorporating maybe some personality tests, the DISC, the predictive index test, the one that you were, Myers-Briggs, strength finders. The cost to administer those tests is minuscule when you look at what the cost of a bad hire is. The cost of a bad hire, when I did my top 10 hiring mistakes, the stats that I saw were anywhere from 30% of someone's base salary to 200% of their base salary.
It's
because it's not just sunk cost, it's decrease in morale with the.
That's a huge cost.
It's a huge.
The impact on other
cost.
people of working around somebody who's subpar is a really tremendous cost. And I think you add that to the CPA native wiring that we are conflict avoiders, and so we tend to let bad apples stay a lot longer than most other folks would do. And I think we pay a very high price for that. We send out this message that you won't, that bad behavior or poor performance will not be noticed and action will not be taken, and so people tend to hang on and bring the rest of the firm down. I think that's one of the biggest things I've seen over the years, consistently avoiding the hard decision when it comes to hiring.
Right. It could cost you your client. I mean,
it
isn't
has
that the ultimate?
impact.
Is impacting your clients, impacting your revenue stream.
So we do use DISC behavioral assessments on every hire that we have. We train our entire staff on what the DISC assessment is about, and it divides people into, it doesn't divide people, but it shows you 4 basic behavioral styles that are pretty much prevalent across the world. It's been tested, that's globally, you can see it, and the accountants are all in one little bucket over here. This compliance bucket is their main driver. They're all about, following rules and doing things right, and safety and security. So, which explains why they don't want to take risks and have conflict. They're over here focused on safety and security and repetitive and complying and all that stuff. Meanwhile, all of our clients are in this other bucket called high D, which is dominance. Hurry up and get something done.
Right.
And let's have conflict, who cares? And so you have this understanding of how different styles communicate and how to adapt and cope with that. And so when we're hiring, we want to make sure there's a high level of this traditional accountant behavioral style. But now in today's world, we need this element of a communication ability, which is very different from just being compliant. We also need you to be able to go sit down and talk to the client and tell them why their financial statement is so bad and help them work through some of those scenarios. And that is a much different skill set than your classic traditional CPA.
And that really opens up a different form of diversity than what we've been talking about before.
If you just hire for that one skill set, you may not be able to leverage that person across all the kind of work that we have to do today. So it's a very different hire that we're looking for than it used to be. Would you agree with that?
Yes, communication is key. Those are things that my clients are telling us over and over is you can have the best grade point average, you can have a 4.0 grade point average and pass the CPA on the first try, but if you're not able to articulate to your clients what their financial statements are saying, or what you need them to do.
Can't communicate in email even. Your email communication style. If you're a high detailed person and you're doing a 50-page email and you're sending it to this CEO who's got a 2-minute attention span, you're not going to have a good relationship going on there, and you're never going to get the information back the way you need it. So it's very important in our ability to succeed.
Huge.
Also, I just wanted to mention, so I have a bookkeeping business that I'm involved in as well, and I just want to confess here that I went through this hiring process and put out ads, and I went out and looked for people, and I got so tired of the process that I finally just hired the person. I knew they weren't the perfect fit. They were great. They were really nice. I hired them to my own detriment, and then they worked with me and just drove me crazy on the way that we worked. And I knew it wasn't going to fit, and I just said, I'm just tired of dealing with this. I'm going to just make that decision. And it was really a disservice to both of us, because that poor person made a commitment to come work.
Right.
And it was my own laziness. And I'm tired of doing this. I don't want to look anymore at these resumes. and I think we really need to guard against that. We need to make sure that we make the investment to get the right person, not just the easiest person or the person who's here today, so I can stop messing with this and go back to doing my tax return or whatever it is that I'm doing. We need to make the commitment to do it right.
Yeah.
We're going to break just momentarily for a commercial break to learn a little bit more about our session sponsor, Sure Payroll. So after that, we'll show the second CPE code for this session. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
$4.5 billion. That's how much small businesses paid in penalties last year due to payroll processing oversights. That's like 80,000 company cars, or 3 million smartphones, or a pretty much infinite number of iced coffees. But now, you can protect your business and your bottom line with SurePayroll.com. Sure Payroll can be used on any device. In just a few steps, you can process and pay your employees. And Sure Payroll will automatically pay and file your federal, state, and local taxes. We make it easy and affordable to manage your small business payroll online, so you can focus on business instead of worrying about late fees and fines. Go to SurePayroll.com and get a free instant quote for your small business, household, or nanny payroll. Plus, sign up now and get our award-winning U.S. customer support and 2 months free payroll. Call 1-844-SURE-PAYROLL and mention code 2 FREE.
Welcome back. And I've been told that even though I promised you the second CPE code, that we haven't shown the first one yet. So if that's the case, we're going to show that right now. If we already did show it, then you've already got it. So either way, no harm, no foul. So we're showing the first CPE code for this session. There are 2 more to come. And we're going to make sure you get that one and get it recorded, leave it on the screen for however long we leave those on the screen for. And then we're going to show the second one too, so we'll be caught up. So let me know if we've got the second one on the screen. And okay, so we're going to leave the first one up for a little bit longer, and then we're going to do the second one. So, okay, so we're going to keep going. And one thing that occurred to me when you were talking about the need for a job description, I used to work for a firm that they kind of turned the job description upside down in a really, I thought, interesting way. For new hires coming in after they'd had like 1 or 2 interviews and had a little bit of feel for the company and the culture and that, they were given a task, which was to, understanding that we know you don't know our firm very well and you're just interviewing, but we would like you to draw up what you think would be a 30-day, a 90-day, and a 1-year plan for your job. Wow. And it was
Frightening.
eye-opening and really made the person think about what they were trying to do in their job hunt and how they felt they might fit in our company. It was really fascinating. So just another way to look at the potential job description situation.
Right, and there are a lot that are available online too, right? If you're struggling with it and you can't find the words, there's a ton of them out on the web. You can take them and piece them, piece them together.
Yeah, if you just, I would think from all the employment agencies and recruiters and all, just give me a job description for this type of job, and it's a starting point.
The CPA Society in your state,
absolutely.
Like you said, recruiters, they see tons and tons of job descriptions, good ones and not so good ones, most definitely.
So we should be displaying code number 2 right now, I think, and so you've got 2 codes in on this session. There'll be one more a little bit later. Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay. You want to keep talking about?
Yeah, well, let's talk about some more bad decisions, and then we'll flip it over and talk about how to do it right.
Okay. I think one of the ones I see my clients make a mistake with is hiring off of totally a gut feel. Right now, I'm not discounting the fact that you need to click with someone. But boy, I have had clients interview somebody and say, "Oh, well, she's the one or he's the one," and I just feel it. I just feel it. And sometimes there are just really, really good interviewers, right? Anybody can be anybody they want to be for a certain period of time. But if you do give them long enough, they'll show you who they are. So just beware of that. It's okay to click, but I think one of the ways to help combat that is if it's one person in particular, you get the other people that are involved in the hiring process involved, right? And check them to see if they got the same feeling. Also, what I've seen clients do is maybe put the candidate in a couple of different scenarios, either a one-on-one. And I think most of these mistakes, we can give you the example of how to avoid the mistake, right? So it's we're almost answering both questions, right? Here's what's wrong, and if you do it right, then it's not wrong, right? But if you take them to lunch, perhaps have a panel, maybe 2 on 1, just different atmospheres and different environments. I think that helps a lot to determine what the fit might be, right? Because they can. I've had some really, really good interviewers before that did not make very good accountants.
Well, that should have been a sign right there. If you're good at interviewing, you're probably not a traditional accountant. So maybe you're an actor who's playing an accountant on TV or something.
Exactly.
I don't know, but I had a thought and I've already lost it. So, and asking different questions is a key, is what you said. So if the gut instinct, if they're good at doing the sort of pat questions and have a sort of spiel down, then by asking them interesting or different questions, maybe you can uncover if there's in fact a fit or not. So I've never had a job interview as a CPA where they made me take a test, which I think it would be a freaky thing if they made me do that. But on the bookkeeping side, we do that. So for the
That makes
bookkeeping
sense.
business,
Yeah.
I actually sent out a messy reconciliation task to 2 different people that applied for a job. This was on the Good Hire, and I got both of them sent back, and it was in Excel, so I could tell if they could do anything in Excel, if they could deal with this messed up stuff, and if they could reconcile it, if they understood what that meant. Because in bookkeeping, people don't necessarily understand things like that, concepts. And so we got them both back, and they had reconciled it and taught me some stuff in Excel that I didn't know. But that was an easy sort of exercise that I had. And so it's a little bit different. If you have outsourced accounting or bookkeeping, you can test more for those kinds of skills.
Right.
But in the CPA side, what we've had to do is go beyond looking for CPAs or even CPA candidates to fill positions, and we've looked at enrolled agents and other folks that we normally would have not even considered. We've broadened the perspective on what's going to make a good accountant on our team, and we've had to kind of think out of the box to fill that. So I don't know if other firms are doing that.
I think
Or-
successful
Yeah,
ones are.
We're having to.
There's only a finite number of 2-year Big Four CPAs.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a finite number.
Yeah.
You can't grow them. You can't create them. If you could clone them, then I wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
But so being open-minded and, like
Yeah.
you said,
And we
considering
found some
enrolled
great skills that are
agents.
outside of your CPA box that we always tend to look in.
Well, they bring a different perspective as well. If you only hire people that are in public accounting, they don't have perspective outside in either a nonprofit or a for-profit, a public company, a private company. They bring a lot of experience because most of you're not providing auditing services to other public accounting firms. You're providing those services to clients that are privately held, publicly held, closely held. So someone that understands how they work,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
is
we've had people coming out of industry as well, which has been very successful. Some of our best team members are from restaurant experience. In the wine industry, it helps to have that kind of experience. But hopefully, we still need some CPA candidates, obviously, to do the kind of work that we're holding ourselves out to do. But we bring them along. So we bring them on without that license, and then we help them get it. It's part of what we do as a firm is to help pay for some of the certification
to be
training,
very commonplace
past
these
exams.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've opened up another polling question for you. If you're new to the site and don't know where the polls are, it's at Slido.com. So you can use your phone. I recommend going to the poll on your phone so you can leave your computer open and continue watching our session. So go to a browser on your phone and go to Slido, Slido.com. And when that opens, if it asks you for an access code, the access code is ES, as in ensuring success, 2017, ES 2017. And the question is, for those of you who've had experience with hiring, have you ever made a bad hire? And we'd be very curious to know what percentage of our hiring audience has been in the situation of maybe wishing they could have done something differently. So we'll let that ride for a little bit and see what kind of responses we get. So, so should we start talking a little bit about some particularly good things that you can do when you're hiring someone that is going to make it more likely that you really zero in on the right person? And we have, as you said, we've kind of flipped a lot of the bad things into how they could be good. But,
right.
I'm just going to start with something you said last night when you were talking about having people share like a personal experience that has really nothing to do with the job, but just get them talking about something that's really meaningful to them. And with luck, they sort of forget the interview persona and just become the person, and you learn a lot more about them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Great
You
way
are
to see.
working with them.
Yeah.
Something that we started very recently at our firm. So sometimes we found, because we use a panel and we use one-on-ones and pre-prepared interview questions and assigned interview questions. We would sit around and think, you know what, we think we have an idea of what their skill set is, but do we really know the person?
Yeah.
And especially in small firms, you spend a lot of time with them, and so really getting to know them, their personality, maybe a little bit about their family, can be very telling. And so what we've done is we've started to allow people that come in to interview 6 minutes to either put together a little PowerPoint presentation or to get up in front of, and this happened, I think it was either yesterday or 2 days ago, there were 10 of us in the room, and we had a couple of candidates come in. One of them put together a PowerPoint presentation, and it was really anything you want. And so he talked a little bit about what his background was. It was very impressive. He said, these are some of the things that I like to do. Here's some of my strengths. Here's some of my weaknesses. He showed pictures of his family. And so when we came away, we had an understanding of who he was just a little bit.
So wait a minute. They knew coming in they were going to do this 6-minute
Yes.
presentation, so they had time to prepare.
Yes.
Because don't give an accountant a task that they have to do on site, or they'll have a heart attack and meltdown at the in the desk there. So that's good. So you told them coming in. I love that. I love that idea.
We gave them 6 minutes, and then the panel had 4 minutes to ask questions.
Wow.
And then we broke up into our individual interviews.
Nice.
And it was really very eye-opening. It really was, because we came away and we weren't as concerned when we were interviewing them and asking the questions to get to really know them. And we could couch it and frame it by what we already knew.
And you're also testing communication skills. If they
Yes,
can
ma'am.
tell their story in 6 minutes, that's something significant.
Yes.
And if they're not afraid to stand up and talk about it, that's fabulous.
Tests
thing.
communication, it tests.
Yeah. I
Can
think
they
if we
follow
tried
instructions?
that, if we tried that though, the 5 people that we have to come in, half of them will not even come interview because they'll be terrified. So it'll cut down my pool of candidates even more. So, but wow, that's really
That is good.
innovative.
We'll
I love
see
that
if
idea.
it
Yeah.
increases the success of hiring. I think there's really nothing that takes the place of being prepared.
Yeah.
Everybody's been in an interview when somebody is scattered and
Yeah.
not ready, not prepared, and really we're not trained in interview skills.
Yeah.
We're absolutely not trained, and you're competing for talent.
Yeah, we really
Right?
are. It's
And
tougher than ever.
if you have 5 people sitting in front of you that you think are pretty good, there's other firms that want those
Yeah.
people. And so if you're making a good first impression, right? You're prepared, and you're the one you're selling. The candidate's selling, but you're selling as well. And so if they go on several different interviews, you're going to stand out, and it's more likely all things being equal, they'll want to come to work with you because you didn't waste their time,
Yeah.
right? And you can articulate why they should come there.
Right.
I think it's critical.
And that raises a point in my mind also that, one of the things that we're doing, the whole process of hiring and recruiting and interviewing is a marketing activity, if you think about it.
ma'am.
And so think about all those communications you get by email from people that want to apply for the job that you don't respond to.
Right.
Think about the message that you're sending to those people. We never get back to them.
Right.
I mean, every step of the way, we have an opportunity to show people in our community that we are different or that we are a place to be trusted. And even those candidates that don't meet your requirements deserve a response. And I think many times we don't even reply to people that don't fit our resume review. And so we're missing an opportunity to make an impact in the community.
And candidates talk about that.
They do.
They talk about it.
They talk to each other, and
And-
that's a potential customer or client out there that we've just not made a good impression with. And so we need to think about that and all along the process.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to do one more brief break to hear a little bit more from our sponsor, Sure Payroll. And when we come back, we'll have the 3rd CPE code for this session. So we'll be right back.
If you pay your nanny $1,900 or more a year, or $1,000 or more per quarter, you'll need to pay the nanny tax. Why? If you don't, you could owe $25,000 in IRS penalties. That's a lot of money. That's like 2,500 yoga mats, or 100,000 diapers, or a little over 2 million fruit snacks. But now you can protect your family and your savings with SurePayroll.com. Sure Payroll automatically calculates, files, and pays your nanny payroll taxes so you can focus on your family instead of worrying about late fees and fines. We make it easy and affordable to manage your nanny payroll online from any device. Sign up now and get our award-winning U.S. customer support plus 2 free months of payroll. Just call 1-844-SURE-PAYROLL and mention code 2FREE.
Welcome back. And the third CPE code for this session is now going to be displayed on the bottom of your screen, so make sure you write that down if you need CPE credit for this session. We've been talking about bad hires and how to do it right, and we thought we'd change it up just a little bit and talk a little bit about recruiting and how to find the good hires that you're looking for.
You want to start? Or you want me to talk about?
Why don't you start about what?
So in our firm, so initially when I joined the firm, and this was 9 years ago, which is hard to believe, the firm had made the decision that we were only going to hire experienced people. We were not taking anybody directly out of school. We wanted them to come in trained, and of course that's so we didn't have to figure out how to train them. So then we quickly realized, or recently realized, we can't find those people. Those experienced people are very difficult to come by and very difficult to find. So we switched a couple of years ago to bringing in people directly from college, and we have the benefit of a great college right by us, PUC, Pacific Union College, that's in Angwin, which is a little town right by St. Helena in wine country, with some amazing programs there. So we started recruiting there and in Sonoma State and some other area schools. And that has been a great pipeline for us to find future candidates to hire. But of course we've had to shift and figure out how the heck do we train these people now that we have them coming on board. But it gave us a pipeline that we could work from now for future experienced people on our team. So what are some other things? I mean, that's one of the shifts we've had to make.
I think you need to start early.
Yeah.
I think being involved with the colleges that are close to you, offering internships, even if they're free or even if it's minimal pay. I think that getting them in and getting them used to you and your firm and why it is that you're different. Online now, there are so many different avenues to find people, from Monster to LinkedIn and Indeed. LinkedIn, we are seeing a huge increase in people that are reaching out to candidates on LinkedIn, and then using the power of LinkedIn and those connections to get introductions into different firms or into different companies. And many times, if my clients want to see a candidate, I'll send them over, and literally if I get them on the phone, they're not looking at their resume. I can hear them doing this because they're looking them up on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
There's a picture there they want to see. They want to see if their LinkedIn profile matches their resume, maybe who they're following. And so I think LinkedIn has been really big. Of course, recruiters. I mean, I have never had a client say that that they want to have all their hires through a recruiter. Yeah. But if you're looking for a key hire, the fee that it would cost is nothing compared to the revenue that they could generate.
The impact they can have on the firm.
It's
worth it. It's a worthwhile investment.
Absolutely.
We're having trouble. The recruiters are having a hard time finding people. You know, it's a really tough market.
Being involved in your own alumni associations, being involved in your own local CPA society.
Yeah. Get converts, get people to move over from the...
Right. Really, one of the things that you should do is you should always be recruiting. You should always, you're setting yourself up to fail when you're doing nothing but taking care of your clients, and someone lays their 2-week notice down on your desk, and you look up, and now you start the recruiting process. If you're active in your community and in the colleges and your alumni association and your profession, you're really always recruiting, and that's your best bet. Right. That's your best bet.
So we do have an intern that we hire from the college campus. It's paid. I don't think we're allowed to not pay people. We tried that. I don't think California will let us get away with unpaid interns. So they have to be paid to do the work, and it's well worth it. And then we have this wonderful young man who comes in and fits it around his classes and does things for us. Like he was importing a bunch of QuickBooks files the other day and doing things like that. So he's getting an introduction, not maybe to the most thrilling and exciting stuff, but he's getting an introduction to what it is we're doing and doing a great job. We're teaching classes at the local universities. I'm going out there and doing a class on communication training for the accounting students, and so we're out there and they get to see who we are, which is helping us a little bit. But we're also expanding not just who we're looking for, but where those people need to be located. So the remote thing is becoming critical to filling the positions in your company. We can't just expect them to be in the office anymore. We have one full-time remote person who is a very qualified, experienced accountant. She's 100% remote. And then we have a person that was part-time that was on board that we've now turned into a full-time hire, has actually moved into the area. She was here for a short-term period of time and now has just signed on full-time. But we got to see what that was like by having her do a part-time tax season only sort of role. So we've all done that for a long time as firms, but I think we really have to expand the definition of what those people have to do and where they have to be, and figuring out how to cope with all that is a new HR challenge for all of us, and it's going to be continuing, I think.
Right. I don't disagree. That demand for flexibility, the demand for working from home, whether it's because of a commute, whether it's because of
Children.
family obligations.
Yeah, parents, children, we got to look at both, all sets of unusual requirements that we have, but also just finding the skill set you need. You may have to go out of your market.
Right, which once again, if you have that job description, so
It's always back to that. I still got to do that job description. I don't want to do my job description.
But how do you measure them? How
I know,
you
it. And how do you tell them and say whether they've succeeded or failed if you don't know where the bar is set, right?
And it's hard enough to do that with somebody that's sitting in the office next to you.
You're watching like a hawk.
But how do you do that if they're remote?
Right.
Well, don't tell Ed Kless, but we just look at their timesheet. That's what we know.
Oh, okay.
We just look at the timesheet. That's all we need to measure whether they're good or not. It's how many hours got
How
clocked
much
in
can
by
bill,
client.
right?
Yeah, it's their billable realization rate.
Right.
Okay, some statistics here. Our poll said that of those who had experience with hiring, 82% have made a bad hire.
Wow.
So that's pretty high. And then also the ADP poll that I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the session, in reference to what you were saying about referrals, 58% of their survey respondents said the best hires come from referrals.
I think that would absolutely.
That was very good.
We'd all love to have those, wouldn't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Are there things people are doing to make those happen more frequently? I know people have incentive pay. What other, and how else can we drive that?
I think number one is being involved, because people are going to refer people to you. I mean, you can't make a referral if you don't know them. Right?
Yeah, right. So we need to get our people out of the office.
You get
They need to
them
be
out.
connected to things. We need to have groups to tap into. That makes sense.
And then referral bonuses, however much it is, whether it's monetary, a couple of $1,000s when someone starts, and then maybe a different incentive for if they stay.
Yeah.
Once again, we're incenting the hire to stick. For these people to be invested, to help them. If they see that they're struggling a little bit with this or that, they're more likely to come alongside them and say, hey, let me help you with that.
Yeah, makes them partnered up almost immediately. They have a buddy system in place.
Right.
They have a financial stake in that person's success.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it's come in the way of maybe some time off. Right.
Yeah.
What we're finding is that people aren't always as motivated by money as they are time away.
People have different motivators, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we have to be open to what is the motivation
Right.
for an individual. That's one of the things we're learning. That there's not a standard. That even though one person might like pay, another person might want help with the community. They might want us to support them in community outreach kinds of activities, which our firm does. We try
And
to
it's
let
great
people.
to be flexible. And
And that's hard for us because we want to have just a one thing that we do and roll it out across everybody. But it's changed a lot.
So we have a couple of questions here. Do you feel the candidates or the firms have the upper hand? We're talking about accountants here. Is there still a shortage in the continental U.S. for accountants and CPAs?
Well, I was looking at a study that the AICPA did in 2017 that was specifically about supply and demand. And the supply of, graduates coming in is at an all-time, not all-time high. In 2015 and 2016, there were about 253,000 kids that were enrolled in bachelor's or master's degree programs. The issue is that the master's program enrollment is going down proportionally. So I think some of that is just cost. Some of it is there are universities that have put together programs that if you get your bachelor's, you can go and piecemeal the remaining credits that you need to just pass or to go take the CPA in whatever state that
Without
you're
the
in.
master's.
Right. So the number of people that are coming in is at an appropriate level, but you have so many that are exiting that your supply really is coming down. And the demand right now is still very high. Most of the firms that were polled said they were going to plan to hire just as many as they have had to hire in the last couple of years. Now, whether artificial intelligence begins to affect that, I think that remains to be seen. But right now, supply and demand is a bit upside down, especially in that purple squirrel, right? That 2 to 5 year experienced auditor or tax professional that has a CPA. So I would say right now that they have the upper hand.
Did you call them purple
Purple
squirrels? I love it. Yeah, they are. They're hard to find.
They're very hard to find. So I would say in general, they do have the upper hand. And simple macroeconomics and supply and demand means it drives the price. It drives the price up.
I think the purple squirrel is a perfect place to end this session. All right. Well, we are out, and we're going to be back at the top of the hour with our last session of the day. And all of you 10-hour warriors, we want to hear from you on social media or an email. We can be reached at info@ensuringsuccess.com. If you have any problems with that, you can reach me at CPAPracticeAdvisor.com. I screwed up the CPE codes a little bit this session, so if you had a problem with that, just contact info@ensuringsuccess.com and we'll figure it out. So we will see you back at the top of the hour. We want to thank SurePayroll for sponsoring this session. We want to thank Sharon Luckich and Jeannie Whitehouse for their great insights on how to hire the right people for your accounting firm. And we'll see you at the top of the hour.